Hello everyone, I'm Ross Dominy and welcome back to the world of Shadowgraph. I am an independent filmmaker. For many years I've been working as a freelancer for news organisations and doing independent documentaries, and after a long time I finally kicked myself up the bum and started my own media channel. What inspired Shadowgraph was the kind of dystopia that we're living in politically and socially, and what we wanted to do here on this channel is embrace this chaos as a creative format for storytelling. Here on our YouTube channel, we are offering bi-weekly creative videos about what goes into the filmmaking process. We strongly believe storytelling should be accessible for all, and we want to share everything we've learned with you so that you can make your own independent films. Okay, let's get started with today's video. Recently, I was in Damascus, Syria, after the fall of the dictator Bashar al-Assad. In Damascus, just 8 kilometers south from the center of the city, sits Yarmouk camp. Once upon a time, this camp was the biggest area for Palestinians living outside of Palestine. It had a pre-war population of nearly 1 million people. It's even bigger than a neighborhood. It's like a sprawling suburb of Damascus. Many people even called it a mini-city. Here at Shadowgraph, we decided that we wanted to continue our documentary series that we've been doing online about the Palestinian struggle, told through the format of dreams and memory as a method of storytelling. Fast forward to the Syrian civil war and Yarmouk was largely destroyed. It was put under siege by the regime of Bashar al-Assad on one side, ISIS invaded the camp on a different corner, and within the walls and buildings of the camp there was a brutal civil war where Palestinian factions fought to defend their communities. Now on today's episode I want to talk about two different perspectives through someone that I met in the camp called Khaldoun.
Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Khaldoun is a doctor and he stayed in the camp throughout the whole siege. He treated everyone, so fighters from all different sides. I want to talk about two different perspectives. One perspective being mine as the filmmaker, the outsider from the camp, and the other about Khaldoun's experience of having me in the camp as a filmmaker. This video serves a purpose because when you tell stories outside of your own communities in somewhere far away that has a completely different cultural experience of what you're used to, your perspective as a filmmaker, being interested in the aesthetics, the lighting, the sound, the politics, is completely different to the experience of someone there, living in that community, having experienced the memories, the trauma, and all the different cultural dimensions of what it's like to grow up there. As I'm walking with Khaldoun, I feel my own insecurities as a filmmaker. I'm questioning myself, am I the person to be making this film? Why am I here? Can I do the story justice? Am I asking dumb questions because, quite frankly, there is so much that I don't know. Now, inside my head, I try to calm my thoughts and just say to myself that I have a role and a purpose here as a filmmaker, and that is to do the story justice. So as much as possible, I focus on the visuals around me and think about how I can best represent Khaldoun as a character. Khaldoun posts his philosophies, perspectives, and writing on Facebook. Now I have a text here on my laptop from his account about his encounter of us filming together on that night. I'm going to read it out to you. His penultimate day in Yarmouk, we wandered amongst ruins we had grown familiar with by day, but darkness had bestowed upon them both awe and tranquility. He wanted to know more about my dreams during the siege and after it, what I had seen in my sleep and what visions I had whilst I was awake. Since the howling wind drowned out my voice even with a mic, we tucked ourselves into a room that resembled a severed limb. A room missing a wall, furniture and its inhabitants. Perhaps it had once been a shop or a tomb, but it served its purpose. It blocked out the barking wind and added special effects to my voice. When we finished, Ross exclaimed, "Your sound was perfect, amazing." His excitement made me feel as if he had truly understood my ramblings. So much so that I recalled the poet Abu Tamam, who once, upon hearing a Persian singer's voice, recited, "I did not grasp its meaning, yet it stirred my heart so I could not remain ignorant of its sorrow. And I became like a lovesick blind man, enamoured with beauties he cannot see." As Khaldoun rightly shows with his reference to a poet that he mentions, it's proof that as a filmmaker I know nothing about what is happening all around me. I only have an understanding of the aesthetics and the feeling of what I feel whilst I'm there in the moment. Now for me as a filmmaker, I was looking at the shapes, the colours, the light, the sound, and I was getting very excited from a storyteller's point of view. For Khaldoun, the experience was different. He was coming to terms with the overwhelming amount of feelings that were coming back to him, and I was entering this sphere as a filmmaker without any of this trauma. So we have two very different perspectives.
Wow. Translate.
When you're working with foreign films and it's in a language that you don't understand, you will get an interview with a person, you will hear like a whole spiel of words from someone and you don't understand anything. The thing that you can pick up though, if you hone in your focus, is the emotional vibrations of someone's body. You kind of learn after a while to read the subtext of what someone is saying by the way that you see the emotions in their face or through the subtleties of how they're reacting through their body language. After you've collected this footage, you then have the process of editing. So what would happen before that is that you would get all of the footage translated and then you would spend time watching and analysing the testimonies and stories of people that you've spoke to. So as a filmmaker, you go through the process of feeling what it's like to be there, but then you get the whole experience kind of expanded into much more depth when you are back home in your editing studio or setup and you are watching through the translated footage. This then is a good time to absorb the information, to read more about the place that you've been to. You, as a filmmaker, when you go to these communities, the local translators and people that you work with, they will recommend to you many writers, journalists, and maybe at the time when you're filming, you don't necessarily have the energy and mental capacity to go back and kind of read further about what's happening. But when you get back to your home country and you've got the footage, you have more time to kind of rest and process what you've experienced. Then you have lots of time to also read up as well and give yourself a more fuller understanding of what you've been filming. I've always been against the idea of like journalists flying into a story, spending a couple of days there and kind of robbing like information and extracting trauma from people to make their own films. I prefer to make films independently, which is why I've started this channel Shadowgraph, because I don't want to be under the control of an editor who's with a news company saying, "Ross, you have to go in there, you've got 2 days, we've got no budget, go in, get the story and fly out again." I think that's a really disrespectful way to kind of rob stories from people and build them into something that benefits a news platform but doesn't leave the people who took part in your film feeling very good about the whole process. So what I want to summarize this video with is that if you are an outsider and you're traveling to other places to make films, be completely humble to the experience. It's such an honor to be able to travel with a camera and to meet new people and to do their stories justice through the craft of filmmaking. I think when you let the steam out of your ego and just accept the fact that you know nothing, you can open up a whole new world of experiences and knowledge by having conversations with people, giving yourself the chance to read up on the things that people have told you about, and also just to kind of take a step back and delicately use the filmmaking process to represent the people that you film in the best way possible. I really can't wait here at Shadowgraph to start the editing process of this amazing footage we have from Yarmouk camp. And as always, as a filmmaker, this infinite journey of learning is forever expanding my mind. I'm so grateful for this job, and I really hope that these videos inspire you through all the kind of contradictions, insecurities, and amazing things that come from filmmaking. I hope that they inspire you to take your own steps to become a storyteller as well. Do hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below if you found this useful or if you have questions that you want to ask regarding the filmmaking process, and see you for the next Shadowgraph video.